All I've heard about in Toronto for the last 4 years is about Austin Matthews and friends can't get it done. All I've heard about in Four Nations, he was not good last year in the Four Nations tournament. He's been horrible this year by Austin Matthews standards.
All right, let's talk about the Olympics for a minute. Before we play the Jake Oettinger clips, which I think are as important, and it leads to something I want to hit Luds about. Sean, you wrote a great piece, I believe it was for your Substack last week, titled, and this is paraphrasing, but basically the thesis was Jason Robertson had no chance to make Team USA for the Olympic roster. I thought it was well written. It made me think quite a bit. I was talking to Luds last night about the whole progression of starting the year because of this off-season surgery and having a slow start, that leading to not making the Four Nations, and that leading to not really having a chance to make this roster. Can you elaborate a little bit your thoughts on Jason Robertson not making Team USA's Olympic team?
Yeah, and I listened to your guys' emergency pod about the Olympic rosters, and you guys have covered this really well in the past couple of days, so keep listening to DLS even when I'm not here. They do a better job when I'm not here, honestly. But it's Jason Robertson with this team, Team USA, and you look at what he did in the calendar year, scored more goals than any American in the year 2025. Obviously, building off, didn't get picked for the Four Nations team. There's not, for all of, it's amazing how much he played himself off the team at the start of last season. And that's the kind of thing, the thing I kept coming back to was, if you're going to say someone has an opportunity to play their way on and they're going to do and change the reputation and everything like that, for Jason Robertson, what he did in this first half of last year that took him off the Four Nations roster was basically squashed anything he could do. Because I don't know what else he could have done this year within the last calendar year to change that. And there's the other key to this too that comes into play is there's such the way that US roster is built, and I understand you're building a team and you're building roles, and I get the fact that you need grit and you need guys to grind, and winning the Stanley Cup requires having role players in the third and fourth line that do the right thing and all that stuff. I get all of that. That's how the Stanley Cup is won. The Stanley Cup is won.
Hey, when the Cowboy show's on, nobody talks up there.
Sorry, Sean, that was not for you. That was for behind us.
That's fine. But like,
yeah. All right, keep going.
The Stanley Cup has to be won in a salary cap world, even more so now, especially with how it's been changed. So you have to think roles. You have to think that you only have room for 3 to 4 superstar players, and the Stars have more than anyone. Like, the Stars are one of the teams that have more than most, with when you have a Mikko Rantanen and a Rope Hintz, a Jason Robertson. So you need your third and fourth line. This Team USA team, I look at it, and for me, it's a funny thought process where they can still win because they have.
Well, let's face it, Sean. Quickly, the roster is still really good. Like, the U.S. roster is still stacked even without Jason Robertson.
Here's the problem we ran into for me was it shouldn't have been Jason Robertson versus Vincent Trocheck. This is the ridiculous part we've run into. Jason Robertson versus Vincent Trocheck. Jason Robertson versus a JT Miller on the team, because we're talking about the fact that Jason is on the fringe and everything like that. If you were really going to make me a list of the top 13 American forwards right now and what they've done in the past year and who they are and everything like that, you can't tell me that you make it past 6 or 7 without bringing up Jason Robertson. And that for me has been one of the biggest problems, where I think it's unfair to Vincent Trocheck. I think Vincent Trocheck should be on this team. He's going to be a really good fourth line center. I like what he does. I like what he brings, all that. But now we have to get into this argument of, should Vincent Trocheck have been on this team versus Jason Robertson? That should have never been the argument. Jason Robertson should have been higher on this list. And it to me just becomes very, very USA hockey thing, and the way we kind of have looked at how we have to win games because it's a country of grit and everything like that. And that's fine, but this team should be able to go and outpossess the puck against every other country in the world except Canada. And then I would argue against Canada, if you bring your other team that got players that can also possess the puck, you just go blow to blow and it's going to be fine. It's the whole. I wrote about it, and I'm better at getting my thoughts off in writing. It's why I'm only a guest on this show twice a week. It's the fact is, the fact of the matter is, we're going to go and say, merit, and you guys can do something to make a team and everything like that. And we're talking about someone who goes and outscores everyone, and it's, what else could he have done? and that's kind of my biggest takeaway on all of this.
So we've litigated this a lot, and I don't need to push you another 10 minutes, Luds, but Sean's take, and I think this is really important, of the 1980 Olympic team was a overwhelming success. They won gold. They upset the Soviet Union, the Red Army team, and it was, a team that had just been unbeatable, basically. And they were playing with college kids and grit and amateur players and not the NHL guys. But the amount of U.S. talent in the National Hockey League has been exponentially grown since that time. No longer do they have to be thought of as a plucky underdog to have success on the international stage. They are one of the heavyweights. They have the talent. They have the roster. And I'm not saying take away the hard work, identity. You can still play that way like Sidney Crosby does, but you have Sidney Crosby. They have Austin Matthews. They have the Kachucks. They have, Jack Eichels. They have Quinn Hughes. They're loaded. They have to start acting like one of the favorites, not one of the underdogs.
Yeah. But there's some reason in Bill, and this isn't just on Bill Guerin. He's got a staff, right?
It's the group.
They obviously came to consensus that he wasn't in the top, 14 forwards?
14 forwards.
Okay. I don't know what it is, but it may be, and I asked Army and I asked Billy when they were here about playing the other country, about playing Canada or Canada playing U.S. from your standpoint. No, we just do it. Sean brought it up. He said it. Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, let's just say, because I agree with you, Sean. I think that U.S. puts a team together to beat Canada, and Canada makes sure they put a team together to play them. And even if they don't get to the gold medal round, we beat the other one. That's important to the countries. So with that being said, is there something that from the United States brass that said Canada might be able to push him where he's not effective? I don't know.
Let me ask you this.
It's not because he can't score goals, like everything that you guys said.
Our chat right now is talking about Jack Hughes. I think Jack Hughes is a phenomenal, talented player. He did not look good in the Four Nations. I thought he got pushed around. Are you telling me that Jack Hughes is a better checking player than Jason Robertson?
I don't know, and I don't. It's not about checking. I think he's.
But that's what Bill Guerin said it is.
But what I'm saying is, I look at the foot speed of Jason Robertson and the quickness of Jason Robertson versus a couple of these other guys. Has that got something to do with it?
Is that why Kyle Connor gets picked over Jason Robertson? Because of his speed.
You know what Kyle Connor can do is he can draw penalties for sure, the way he skates.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And so is the water bug kind of scenario from a Hughes, because he is that kind of a player.
Sure is.
Is that something that can draw penalties? I don't know what goes into choosing these teams, but there's something there that kept Robo off of that top 14 in the 12. I don't know what it is, but if I look at Robo's game overall, there's a scenario last night in the game. It had to be the third period, I believe, but Robo got the puck at his own blue line and his defensive zone from a pass. There was a player, an opponent that was about the top of the circle. Robo got the puck, started skating north. The player behind him, who's 10, 15 feet behind him, caught Robo by the time he was at center ice. Is that, and I looked at that right away. I think I even said it to Ryan. That might be a reason right there, because we're still talking about it. Like, is that it? Is it the quickness of him? Is he going to play against a group of 12 or actually 20, 18, whatever you want to call it, against Canada, I'm talking about, that he may not be as effective because they can take that away from him? I don't know, but that's the only thing I can see, because everything else Robo does is elite.
Yeah.
And you're right. And you guys bring up the 3-on-3, or you bring up the shootout. Oh my God. You don't need it just for that fact.
For just that.
And
reason.
Here's the other thing. If Robo's in that 12 in the game and Robo doesn't get a regular shift where he might get passed over 2-3 times, how does he react to that? Because it could happen to every player, any player. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it, but there's obviously it's probably a minor thing that they saw and said, this is the only reason we don't think he would be effective here. But that all being said, Sean, he could get a call in a week from now, and because there's, like I said, there's a couple guys that are getting injured and all that other kind of stuff. So
go ahead and hit that super chat, Ryan. Ryan and I are staring daggers at each other, sending the same message. Ardell with a Ludwig and a Robertson. If Robertson played for Minnesota, is he on Team USA?
If what? If
Jason Robertson played for the Minnesota Wild, does he make the team because Bill Guerin's the GM?
I don't know. I don't even know if Billy Guerin would want Robo as a player. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want Robo as a player? I have no idea. Okay. Would you take Kirill over Jason Robertson? Today, if there's a trade, Sean, and the deal is 1-for-1, would you give up Jason to take Kirill?
Swap
them even up. Swap them even up.
But no, the contract question is important because I don't want Kirill's contract.
You don't want what?
He doesn't want Kirill's $17 million.
No. I'm talking if everything's even. Forget the money.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not about the player.
Yeah, I believe durability, and I would take Robertson actually. It's something where I've gone back and forth on this stuff in the past, and I love Kaprizov's game, and I love what he's done and everything like that. I also the reality is when you have your best player only plays 64 games a year or whatever it is, that's like, and it's funny to me, right? Like we always talk about toughness and we talk about this and that and everything. Like, Bloods, you know, how hard is it to play 82 NHL games, right? Like I don't think we give enough credit to guys who are able to do that. And I think it's the Robertson Kaprizov thing is a fascinating one because it's hard for me not to think about it from a contract perspective. And I'm probably now going to think about this for the next 30 minutes of this show and waffle back and forth. But yeah, it's like with what Robertson's doing right now and between kind of the snub of this all, like I look at a ton of, I don't know. It's a good question. The fact I'm waffling back and forth as we speak tells you how good of a question this is.
I'm a little stuck too because we watch Robertson every game and we want to give him the credit that we see him and boy is he an elite scorer and he's a better passer than we realize and his plus minus is actually way better than people think it is. However, Kirill is the athletic specimen, right? There's no doubt
he's a specimen in general.
The difference is though, to Robertson's credit, he plays more games. Kirill gets hurt. I don't know if that's
Kirill
gets
hurt because he goes to those areas that not many
and I don't know if that's
to.
necessarily something you should hold against him, but there is being available is a skill.
Yeah.
Well,
here's the upside of the whole thing, of the whole scenario for me, that Robo doesn't forget this, especially when comes the first week or two in April. And you go ahead and you say, that guy over there didn't want me on that team there. And then you take it and you light up that team in the first round and you send them packing. And then
that would be supremely satisfying,
blow
wouldn't
him a kiss sitting up in the box.
Well, check this out. So Ryan just pulls up the numbers.
Look at that, how quick you are.
I mean, he's got a plus 10 advantage. Otherwise,
doesn't even matter. Plus minus means nothing.
No,
zero.
But look at that.
They're different teams. They score different amounts of goals.
Pretty darn good players, aren't they?
And which one competes harder? At both ends of the rink and middle of the ice. And I'm not throwing Robo under the bus.
Probably,
but everybody can be
probably
honest here.
Kaprizov.
Oh, my God. Does he ever?
Yeah,
does he ever?
You're right.
I don't even want to compare him to Robo. I'm just comparing him to anybody making that kind of money. That is and for the Kaprizov dude, I don't know how much support he's got on the team in that helps him. Yeah, Boldy's there, and there's a couple other guys, but there's a lot of support here on team to play the style
I agree.
that Robo can play. And I don't know, maybe it's gonna, like I said, maybe it's gonna ultimately end up being a blessing. Maybe Robo gets picked, he goes over there, something freaky happens, and he hurts himself, and you don't have him in the playoffs.
Maybe.
The one point of play on this that I want to bring up, and it's not to say this person shouldn't be on the team, but we get perception and we get all of this that rips on Jason Robertson, and he doesn't deliver in the big moments. He doesn't do this. I was talking to someone the other day. They're like, "Oh, tell me the big Jason Robertson playoff moment when he can do this." And I'm fine. I'm here. I can hear all of that. You can have that conversation. Why is Austin Matthews on this team in the top 6 selections when I understand he's scored more goals than any other Leaf in team history, but we all of a sudden we talk about certain guys being they can't do it at the big moments. We can't do this. All I've heard about in Toronto for the last 4 years is about Austin Matthews and friends can't get it done. All I've heard about in Four Nations, he was not good last year in the Four Nations tournament. He's been horrible this year by Austin Matthews standards. Why are we applying where's Jason's proof of life on this that he can do it in the big moments when it's not being applied to everyone? That's where I kind of get lost on this, and I get frustrated with this. Where, once again, this is not to say Austin Matthews shouldn't be on Team USA. I think he should.
No, he very much should be.
He should be on Team USA. But if we're going to apply the rules that we've applied to Jason Robertson in this narrative of where is he in the playoffs, where is he this and everything like that. You got a guy you're literally probably going to give one of the captaincies to, who has just been horrible in the postseason and just gets ripped all the time for it, right? Like, where is the? That's the part that I kind of get most frustrated with this whole Jason Robertson discourse, because we get pulled into the conversations of I have to argue against Vincent Trocheck or I have to argue against JT Miller, and we shouldn't be arguing against those guys. I have to argue that, well, what Jason does is, well, I have to argue that scoring goals is a good thing. Last time I checked, scoring goals won games. And in the, like, the other thing, like, I compared Jason to, obviously not an exact comp, Lud. So I want to be very clear. They are not an exact comp. But what's the last championship USA won in a best on best tournament? Do we know? Does anyone here know? Best on best.
Best on best. Best on best was it was the World Cup of Hockey
in '96. Okay.
Yeah.
Brett Hull was second on the team in points. Brett Hull was second on the team in the points in that tournament. He was great in that tournament. Brett Hull was a very similar in many ways on ice to Jason Robertson, not comparing the two off ice personalities, but Brett Hull was very similar, where there was a lot about his game, Luds, you played with him, where he played less defense than Jason, but he could score a goal and he could do one of the most important things in the game. That's what Jason could be for this team. And that to me is one of the big things that I come back, where and Guerin was on that 96 team. So like, I go back to that as well, where you need to score goals to win hockey games. Why don't you take the guy who has done a better job at it than anyone else in your country in the last 12 months, as opposed to hoping that, you know what, some other guys might find a hot streak in February. So,
all right, let's move on to the Oettinger stuff. I very much agree with you, though, Sean. Jake, we're going to celebrate the fact that he made Team USA, although we all thought it was pretty much already written in pencil, if not ink and etched in stone or whatever. Here's what Jake had to say Saturday, his first media availability since being named.
That's incredible. I think, I feel like I'm not going to really, it's not going to feel real until, you're on the plane with all the guys and you're getting over there and stuff. So, yeah, it's, been something I have wanted my whole life. And to finally, to get that call was, one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me. So just, it's incredible.
And he actually laughed that they were in a team meeting, which was that skate, I believe it was, Wednesday before the Buffalo game. He had to duck out of the Stars locker room area, call Bill Guerin back because he missed the first one, and then, try to do it quietly. Because again, you don't know who else is around. Well, the real reason why I wanted to play that was to play this.
Built a resume that I can play well in big games, and so I'm hoping that that they give me an opportunity to just get in one game, and then it's up to me to play well and try to not let them take me out of the net. So that's all I'm focused on. But as you guys know, obviously USA is stacked in net, so I'm just whatever they need me to do. If they want me to warm guys up before the game, I'll do it. So I'm just happy to be on the team, and hopefully I can get my number called and play well.
That's the answer to the how he's sort of approaching the battle for the USA net, which he's right in the middle of with Swayman and, of course, Connor Hellebuyck. He's Minnesota nice. He's politically correct. He answers it really well. And
he means not a word.
And you didn't like it.
He doesn't mean a word of it.
Tell me.
He wants game one, and he wants to play every single game. And he should. But he's a good kid, and he's going to say it the way. I think if you're Hellebuyck's saying, no, I'm going to play game one, and I'm going to play all of them. Yeah. Swayman's just going to go, I'm just happy you're coming.
Happy to be here.
And you know what? It could end up Swayman actually gets the gig going down the road. Hellebuyck's not playing lights out right now. And I'm sure people are going to say, well, okay, we've seen Jake. There's been that goal in a few games that goes in. And again, it's tough because they're going to get one game to prove themselves. At least two guys are. I don't know if they're going to play. I don't know how they do it. But yeah, I personally, I think Jake will get game one and he'll play good enough. And then I think what happens is Hellebuyck gets game two. We'll see what that he does. But I don't know. I have a feeling that it's going to be Jake. That's my opinion. I don't know.
John, what's your take on the USA net as we are about 6-7 weeks out?
Have we talked about what the group that the USA is in for this tournament?
Not super detailed yet. No.
No, but let's talk about something. They're playing Latvia, Denmark, and Germany. I don't know how anyone proves themselves as a goaltender in any of those games.
I could go put on the pads. I could be the starter after that.
I don't want to be crass to those other countries. I think it's going to be the best German team we're ever going to see. We're going to see, but they're all three guys. The U.S. should go 3-0 in their group. They should possess the puck. They should outshoot the other team by 25 every game. So basically, it's don't let a bad goal against the Latvians or the Danes. Are
you saying that they can do more to lose the job than win it during that group stage?
I'm saying that I don't know if there's anything Jake or Jeremy Swayman can do to win the job other than Connor Hellebuyck losing it.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. I think Connor Hellebuyck he was the starter for Four Nations. There's a bit of we're going to go back to the guy who got us there before. And I think at the end of the day, I think Connor Hellebuyck has to lose the job the way Brodeur lost the net to Luongo in 2010 for someone else to get it. And that's just the way I look at it. I just don't think the preliminary rounds are tough enough games for somebody to are enough for somebody to be able to really get to win the job. So
is Hellebuyck Jordan Binnington then to USA in Canada? Is that because Binnington's going to go there? They all think he's the guy, and he hasn't played well this year.
Well, you said Logan Thompson should probably be the starter right now.
Hellebuyck hasn't played well this year, and you still say he's the guy. And he probably will be. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying he should be the guy based on merit. I'm just going off. I think you talk about, how deep that goalie room is. We got all these guys and everything like that. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be, all right, well, Ty goes to the guy that we trusted in the gold medal, whatever we call that Four Nations final last year. Ty goes to the guy who we trusted to be our number one at Four Nations. Jake's been good, but he hasn't forced the issue that enough to say he's the best goalie in the world over Connor Hellebuyck and all of that. So I'm just trying to break down the internal thinking. I like your idea of, hey, you know what? I'd love to see him get game one, but the reality is they're playing Latvia, they're playing Denmark, they're playing Germany. And I think unless you're given all three one of those games, they're probably going to give someone's going to get two. And as long as they don't bomb, they're getting the quarterfinal.